अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आज हम दो न्यूज़पेपर से कुछ न्यूज़ आई है जो ये पूरा ओवरऑल 75 ईयर जो पाकिस्तान के जो हालात हैं वो सारा आपको डिस्क्राइब करेंगे। तो मैं भी आपके सामने कुछ इस चीज़ को लेके आता हूँ, ये आप चेक कीजिएगा ज़रा।
The year 2022 saw Pakistan celebrate its Diamond Jubilee. But even at 75 years of age, the country experienced a handful of firsts this year. The fact remains that this year has been unlike any other in recent history. We feel comfortable in making this statement because that is the general feeling in our newsroom. Politically, this year was more like a Michael Bay thriller, non-stop action 24/7, and with enough drama to rival any reality show currently airing on Netflix. So instead of doing a roundup of the most significant national developments, which would have been a painstaking exercise considering the sheer amount of developments that took place, here's a list of firsts Pakistan witnessed. Imran Khan's Annus Horribilis. A premier facing a no-confidence vote in parliament is not unheard of in Pakistan's 75 years of existence. Benazir Bhutto and Shaukat Aziz survived no-confidence motions in 1989 and 2006, respectively. PTI chairman Imran Khan, however, was the first prime minister to be booted from power through a no-trust vote. Let's start at the beginning. The Pakistan Democratic Movement, formed in September 2020 and consisting of a menagerie of politicians, had been vocal in its disdain for the PTI government since the latter took over in August 2018. However, in February, the alliance upped the ante and made the formal declaration of filing a no-confidence motion against then-Premier Imran, which was subsequently submitted in the National Assembly Secretariat on March 8. View this post on Instagram. The PTI government appeared unfazed at the time, believing it would come out on top. However, the cracks soon started appearing in its carefully constructed two-thirds majority in parliament. One after the other, the PTI's allies started abandoning ship in spectacular fashion. The Balochistan National Party Bengal, BNP-M, turned its back on the PTI government in June 2020. This year, the Balochistan Awami Party and the Jhuri-Watan Party crossed over to the opposition, followed by the Muttahida Qawmi Movement Pakistan, MQMP, days later, virtually costing the PTI its majority in the 342-strong National Assembly. But the death knell sounded when it emerged that 20 PTI MNAs, who were at one point camped out at Islamabad's Sindh House, had joined the opposition ranks, including members of the so-called Jahangir Tareen group. The PTI accused the opposition of buying the loyalties of its lawmakers, but more importantly, it also cited a foreign conspiracy behind the campaign to oust its government. Remember this for later. After days of politicking and some delays, the no-confidence motion was set to be voted on April 3rd. The opposition, anticipating PTI's delaying tactics, had also filed a motion against the then Speaker Asad Kessa, leaving the Deputy Speaker, Qasim Zuri, to preside over the session. On April 3rd, the newsroom was buzzing with activity. We expected a fiery session following weeks of intense politicking, with all of our resources dedicated to covering the fate of Imran's government. But even we weren't prepared for the hand that the cricketer-turned-politician was about to play. Fawad Chowdhury, who had just taken the additional charge of the Law Ministry a day prior, on the floor of the NA said that loyalty to the state was the basic duty of every citizen under Article 5(1) of the Constitution, reiterating Imran's claims that a foreign conspiracy was behind the move to oust the government. Following the brief speech, Zuri termed the points raised by Fawad to be valid and dismissed the no-confidence motion, proroguing the session, which lasted barely 10 minutes. View this post on Instagram. The opposition roared as headlines were updated and as TV channels scrambled to get analysts on the line to debate the constitutionality of Zuri's move. But then the PTI struck again. Moments after the NA session was prorogued and as the opposition was protesting, Imran appeared on TV to announce he had advised the president to dissolve the NA under Article 58, asking the nation to prepare for fresh elections. View this post on Instagram. Game, set, match. Or so Imran thought. All eyes turned towards the Supreme Court of Pakistan, which took suo motu notice of Zuri's ruling, criticized across the board for violating the constitution. The apex court conducted 5 days of marathon hearings, before determining that Zuri had done goofed. On April 7, the Supreme Court restored the National Assembly, directing it to reconvene 2 days later in order to take up the no-confidence motion afresh. Take 2 of the no-trust vote was grueling. The April 9 session began around 10:30 a.m. and went on past midnight. As Dawn correspondent Samir Wasim and Syed Irfan Raza put it, it was a tiring and nerve-wracking day as the government tested the patience of opposition members. The session was adjourned at least 4 times as opposition leaders held talks with the government. By the end of the day, the PTI government's hopes of surviving the no-trust vote dimmed as the sun set on the country's capital. All the while, Imran chose to spend the day at the Prime Minister House. Minutes before the clock struck midnight, signaling the end of the court's deadline for voting on the motion, the NA speaker at the time, Asad Kessa, resigned from his post, saying he could not take part in a foreign conspiracy to oust the premier. PMLN's Ayaz Sadiq then donned the speaker's robes and conducted the session as members of the Treasury, save Ali Mohammed Khan, walked out of the lower house of Parliament. Finally, an hour past midnight on April 10, the no-trust motion against Imran succeeded with 174 members in the 342-strong House voting in favour of the resolution. As the proceedings against him had commenced, Imran, according to Faisal Javed Khan, had walked out of the Prime Minister House gracefully and without bowing down. In the days that followed, there was some speculation regarding the activities at the Prime Minister House. However, they were swiftly dismissed as a pack of lies. While not the worst thing to have happened to Imran this year, there was an attempt on his life in November. The success of the no-confidence motion, a first in Pakistan's history, was by far the most significant development of the year. Read more. The Speaker versus the Constitution. Explainer: how does a no-confidence motion work? The Year of the Tiger. Exit Imran. Enter Shahbaz. According to the Chinese zodiac, 2022 was the year of the tiger, which in the grand scheme of things makes sense as PMLN's Shahbaz Sharif and his plethora of safari suits finally got their time in the limelight after he was sworn in as the 23rd Prime Minister of the country in April. View this post on Instagram. No stranger to holding government office, Shahbaz had served as the Punjab chief executive on 3 separate occasions. The province's metro bus projects are frequently touted as his biggest achievements. However, Shahbaz's first run as premier has been somewhat overshadowed by his older brother, 3-time former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who has been in London since November 2019. Prime Minister Shahbaz has made at least 3 trips to the United Kingdom to visit his brother as the country grappled with political and economic woes for consultations. Reportedly, the appointment of the new army chief had also come under discussion during one such trip in November. In addition to these trips, Prime Minister Shahbaz also travelled to friendly countries, including China, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia, to secure much-needed investment and foreign exchange for the country. 2022 did not see Prime Minister Shahbaz have any standout moments, but he still has a few more months, at least that's what the government is hoping, before the next general elections are to take place. Pakistan faced crises on several fronts in 2022, such as our persistent economic woes, devastating flooding and the worrying resurgence in terrorism. Perhaps we would have liked to see more from our Premier, and less of Maryam Nawaz telling ministers to look into this on Twitter. A smaller but equally important first this year was PPP Chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari assuming charge as Foreign Minister, the first public office of his political career. While no memorable moments stand out about Prime Minister Shahbaz, FM Bilawal certainly showed that he can hold his own despite having no prior experience. In December, he responded forcefully to Indian terror allegations, prompting uproar in the neighbouring country. The PMO walls have ears. You would think, considering the gravity of conversations being had, the Prime Minister's office, PMO, would be impregnable. You would be mistaken. Audio/video leaks are not new to Pakistani politics. There have been some that are so beyond the pale that their existence shouldn't even be acknowledged. But this time round, and for the first time round, a plumbing problem arose at the PMO. In a series of events straight out of a spy novel, audios began popping up on social media in September, purportedly featuring key former and current government figures. It started with Prime Minister Shahbaz allegedly saying to a government official that Maryam Nawaz had asked him to facilitate her son-in-law Raheel with the import of machinery for a power plant from India. Then, the leaks featured a conversation between Maryam and Shahbaz discussing former Finman Miftah Ismail. The former had made no secret of her disdain for Miftah's decisions to stabilize the economy. All the while, rumors were abundant, claiming that a hacker had put over 8 gigabytes of recorded conversations from the PMO up for sale on the dark web. The Premier termed the incident to be a serious lapse as he attempted to explain the contents of the audios. View this post on Instagram. At the same time, audio leaks also started surfacing of the previous government. In one of the clips, PTI chief Imran and his former principal secretary, Azam Khan, allegedly discuss the cipher that the former has presented as evidence of a foreign plot to oust him from the top office. In another, a voice believed to be of Imran discusses the cipher with party leaders, telling them to play it up. In yet another, Imran, who has been vociferous in his condemnation of horse trading, allegedly talked about buying the loyalties of presumably 5 lawmakers. The PTI chief claimed the PMLN was behind a new game of fake audios and asked the country's neutrals, the term he coined this year for the military establishment, who was truly responsible as the government proclaimed that Imran's foreign conspiracy narrative had been laid bare. At one point, PMLN's Maryam also claimed that Imran and his coach were responsible for the audio leaks. Amid the political rhetoric, the Nationals